What's going on, everybody? Rodrigo Fondor here with Asheville Cash Buyers, bringing you Whiteboard Wednesday. I believe it's number 5, so thanks for tuning in. Today we're talking about something that it's going to be probably a little bit on the shorter side as far as things go, but what we're talking about today is the difference between marketable title, and insurable title. Alright, so what's the difference between marketable title and insurable title? So when you go and you're selling your property, a buyer is going to do what's called a title search. And the title search is going to discover if there's any liens or judgments either against one of the owners of the house or against the house itself. So what's an example of a lien or a judgment that would be against the house, right? So we'll go over here and talk about a couple of the examples. So an example, a very common one is going to be a mortgage. You're also going to have taxes. In some cases, you're going to have a HELOC or a second mortgage. And if you guys remember from episode number 1, where we went over the acronyms of common real estate acronyms, a HELOC stands for Home Equity Line of Credit. So these are going to be all examples of things that are going to show up on a title search that are going to be associated specific to the property. Sometimes you also are going to find judgments against the individual. So let's say I own a property and I defaulted on a car payment, or maybe I had some work done at my house and I never paid the contractor. Then there could be a judgment that's filed against me personally that's going to be attached to the property. So when I go to sell my house on 123 Main Street, the mortgage, the taxes, equity line of credit, or a car judgment or a personal judgment would need to be paid off before the title could transfer from the seller, in this case myself, to whoever the new buyer is. And so there's two conversations that happen often, is whether you have an insurable title or a marketable title. And so, and just remember this, I'm not an attorney, this isn't legal advice, this is what, my perspective, opinion based on conversations I've had with my attorney and my experience in this so far. And so when you're talking about what a marketable title is it's essentially a title that's clean of all defects. And so that means, it's very rare for that to be the case, and you can maybe even make the argument that it's not possible, because at a certain standpoint, it's always going to be owing taxes. But it has no mortgages, no liens, no judgments. There's nothing owed or associated with either the property or either the owners. That would be a clean, marketable title. On the flip side, what you get an insurable title. And this is what we see, at least a lot of the properties we typically buy, and when we sell properties, you're going to have an insurable title. And so that means, just like you get car insurance or a house insurance, you're going to get insurance on the title work. And the title work is the paperwork done by the attorney to make sure that you have good and legal ownership of the house that you're buying. And so when you do that, you're going to get title insurance over it. That title insurance is going to protect you from any mistakes that have been done in the chain of title. So really quickly, and maybe we'll do an episode on this, but chain of title basically is, if a property was built or created in 1950, for instance, and it's had 10 different owners, the chain of title goes back and traces that the title or the ownership of the property transferred correctly from owner from 10, 9, 8, 7, etc., all the way until you get down to the new buyer. And so that's what insurable title is. It's going to protect you against that, make sure all of that's been done correctly, and it's also going to cover some defects. So as an example, one of the properties we've, sometimes we see is there'll be an outstanding deed of trust. So right now it's 2018, but sometimes we'll go to buy a house that has a mortgage on it that in theory would have been due in 1970 or 1985. And because that mortgage due date is so old, we'll get an insurance company to insure over that based on the assumption that that mortgage company isn't going to come and claim the debt that in theory is owed to them. So I know that was a little wordy, but to summarize it is, insurable title is insurance against any outstanding quote-unquote loans that may or may not exist against the property. So if you're buying a house and you get insurable title, that means that you've got insurance on whether you own, like the legal paperwork to transfer title into your name was done well or not. And this is what we mostly see when we buy and sell. That's how we typically see is we get insurable title. Again, based on my understanding, it's very hard and unlikely to get true, clean, marketable title, even though you still say, that's still a word or a phrase that's thrown around. So hope that was clear. I know this was a little bit of a heady topic today. So if you have questions, let us know in the comments. We'll be happy to answer them. Make sure we get anything, make sure everything's really clear for you all. And until next time, see you next week. Whiteboard Wednesday. Next week will be episode number 6. Have a good one.